Hello to all of you. We are in a new week, of course, and with a new philosopher. Oops, the video is falling apart. We discuss Descartes this week, and with Descartes, we start a new section. That is, we speak more about epistemology. Epistemology, as you have in your notes that you have online, you did well, is a branch of philosophy which discusses theory of knowledge. That means that the philosophers who are epistemologists are trying to figure out what knowledge is. And we talked a little bit about it when we discussed the Euthyphro, but you have much more about this now. And I mentioned before the justified true belief analysis for knowledge, I think in the previous video, but now let me say a few more words about it. So, we normally say that we have beliefs, and often we claim that our beliefs are true. Well, in philosophy, that clearly is not the case, and I think that's not the case in all life, actually, in general. But the point is that just claiming that something is the case does not make that thing true. Even more than that. Even if I believe that something is true, and even if that thing is true indeed, it does not mean I have knowledge of it. So, whenever I have knowledge, for philosophers and Descartes, well, not all philosophers, but clearly for some of them, and clearly also for Descartes, three situations have to take place. First of all, I have to believe that something is true. Second, that thing must be true. And the third one, which is the most important probably, I have to be justified in believing that something is true. So, for example, as I may have mentioned in the previous video, I don't remember if I did it or not. Suppose I claim that the Earth revolves around the Sun, and the claim itself, the Earth revolves around the Sun, is also true. Do I have knowledge of it or not? It may seem as if I have knowledge. Well, I can tell you that I do not have knowledge. I claim that the Earth revolves around the Sun because that's what I was taught in school, and that's what pretty much everyone around me believes. But it doesn't mean that I have studied it. It does not mean that I have done any kind of work to realize that indeed the Earth revolves around the Sun. So the difference between true belief and knowledge is very, very important. Because the two of them, although they may seem the same, are not. Both of them claim the same thing. So, I can claim that the Earth revolves around the Sun, and an astrologist, I think that's how they are called, also claims that the Earth revolves around the Sun. The difference between the two of us is not in our claim, which are identical. We both say the Earth revolves around the Sun. The difference between the two of us is that I am not justified in claiming it, and he is. Why is he justified? Because he has studied it. He knows that. In my experience, by the way, it's the Sun who revolves around the Sun. That revolves around the Earth. That's what I see all the time. Anyway, so why is that important? Because now for Descartes who is a scientist. He, as you may see in his writing, he's very precise and very concentrated and all that. He's not like Plato, You may miss Plato now. And so Descartes, who is a scientist, he tries to figure out what he knows for sure. He loves mathematics, for example. And philosophy for him, as some philosophers say, is a tool, you may have seen in the video, is a tool for him to understanding reality, to clarify what science actually is. So, when he is around, when he lives in this world as we live together today, he can wonder, is what I experience true or not? What justifies me to believe that my experience is real? You may say, what? Of course it's real, you experience it. You can see this computer in front of me, even if, I have no philosophical argument to claim that the computer is in front of me. I just see it. So normally, for all of us, the justification for our beliefs comes through senses. How do I know that I'm speaking to you right now? Because I perceive myself to be awake, because I perceive that I look into a camera, because I can see my image on the screen, and so on. How do I know I'm awake? Because look, I move around, I move my hands. But Descartes goes further. He says, well, are you sure? Or is it possible that this whole thing is a dream? So you are watching right now this video that I'm recording. Are you really watching it? Or is it just a dream? You know, you may say this is nice for a Hollywood movie, and as you probably saw in the notes, you know, there have been movies who have been very much influenced by Descartes, like The Matrix. How do I know that whatever I experience is not part of a computer and I experience it as to be real and so on? So, how does Descartes go about it? Because he doesn't do a movie, of course, but he writes it in a very systematic way, and he offers two arguments. He starts from this idea that all of our beliefs are justified by our senses. At the same time, he wonders whether we are justified to trust our senses. And he claims that we are not justified in trusting our senses. But it's not enough for him to claim it. He needs to prove it. So what he does is he's constructing two arguments, the dream argument and the evil demon argument, which work, formally in the same way. They both start from this idea. If I am justified in stating that a certain statement is true, so if I'm justified in believing that the earth revolves around the sun, or if I'm justified in believing that I am speaking into a camera right now, then I am justified in not believing that I'm only dreaming about it. But, he says, I am not justified in believing that this is not a dream. It's possible that the whole thing is just part of a very long dream. You know, I dream that I go back to sleep, and I dream I wake up. And well, he claims that he can explain that by saying that, you know, often we have very vivid dreams, and often we have dreams that influence us strongly, and that we live our lives depending on those dreams. You know, often when I teach this class face to face, I ask, could you give an example of a very vivid dream? And often, I think it's only one class that didn't mention this example. Comes this way, you know. Suppose someone dreams overnight that his or her significant other has cheated on her or on him, whoever the person is. And the whole day, you are upset. Why? Because you dreamt that the other person did something wrong and it really affected you. And you act the whole day as if that thing happened. Well, why? It was a dream, right? Well, if you put it this way, you know, Descartes would say, sometimes we cannot distinguish between dream and reality. What can tell us? What can justify the idea that this is reality and not a dream? And because he has no justification, remember the justification is important, then he will say he is not justified in believing any proposition based on senses. And if the dream argument is not powerful enough, he will come with the evil demon argument, which claims the same thing. If I'm justified in believing a proposition, or in saying that the proposition is true, then I am justified in believing that the demon hypothesis is false. What's the demon hypothesis? That evil demon puts ideas into my head, and everything I experience are just experiences that are given to me by an evil demon. And you may have seen various movies again. The Matrix is really the evil demon hypothesis. Or if you haven't seen that one, maybe other things like Total Recall, I think, was something with Arnold Schwarzenegger a long time ago. Anyway, so if everything that I experience right now is not real, but there are just some kind of reactions in my brain that make me perceive certain things, that everything I say is not true. I just live in a bubble. So Descartes says, I am not justified in believing any statement. Why? Because all of my beliefs so far have been based on senses, and my senses should not be trusted as long as I cannot trust that I'm not dreaming, and I cannot trust that there is no evil demon who puts ideas into my head. If I cannot trust my senses, then everything I believe cannot be trusted anymore. So what I know? Nothing. We go back to Socrates. I only know I don't know anything. But now we have it very systematically done. What does Descartes say? However, there is one thing I know for sure, and that is that I think. How is that possible? Well, regardless of whether my ideas are true or not, regardless of whether my beliefs are true or not, regardless of whether this is a dream or not, regardless of whether my ideas come from me or from an evil demon, I know that I'm a thinking thing because I experience those events in my mind. I experience, my mind is bad, I should have said my mind. I experience those events because I do not know whether I have a mind or not. I don't know anything. The only thing I know is that I experience things. So I am a thinking thing which imagines, believes, perceives, and all that. What am I? Could I be this? Of course I could be this. Could I be this? Of course I could be this. Could I be this? Of course I could be this. I do not know what I am. The only thing I know is that I'm a thinking thing. And then, starting from here, he will develop the whole theory, and we'll go on next week and talk more about it and see how things work. Okay, see you next week.